Okay, so here's a funny story. I went absolutely bananas when I heard about Banjo being the next Smash Bros. Character. However, at that time, I never actually played a single Banjo Kazooie game, and only recently decided to play some of the games this year just to see what I was missing. 2020 though definitely came and stayed for a while. I played the Xbox version first because I'm a fucking Chad. However, I still played a little bit of the original. With that said though, when I heard about the new ROM hack made by Mark Kurko called Jiggies in Time, it instantly gained my attention when I heard that it was a new full game hack that's also a crossover with Ocarina of Time. One of my favorite games of all time actually. The game has been in development hell for the past 6 years actually, mostly due to hardware and hacking limitations. And although Mark's been releasing other projects throughout that time, this one's certainly his most ambitious. Since it's an entirely new game with new worlds, secrets, collectibles, music, and a shit ton of Easter eggs. After playing this game for a while now, would I recommend this to the average gamer? Or is it for the niche group of Banjo and Zelda fans? Let me clarify though that I've only played the first Banjo game, so I'm still pretty new to the series to be honest. Before I go any further with the game though, let me give you some history. Development apparently started back in 2015, with Mark creating Bomb on Battlefield and Banjo Kazooie. He thought it might be fun to remake Kokiri Forest from Ocarina of Time, and he did just that in only 1 month. He thought if making one world took 1 month, then making 9 worlds would take at least 10 months. Simple math. Now that did not happen obviously, but after hearing about it, you do kinda get why it took so long. Like the fact that Mark was working on 6 other projects while doing this, and the fact that he was just starting his studies on 3D animation and game development. Certain editing tools also, well, naturally changed enough over the years to force him to redo his work constantly. There were also some issues regarding him and the composer for the game. After some public demos, a much needed break, and a couple more months in the oven, Banjo Kazooie the Jiggies of Time was finally released this summer of 2020. I decided to play it thinking I could finish it in maybe a couple hours and then make the video, grab myself a hunk of cheese, and call it a week. Although boy, I was wrong. Really wrong. Anyway, let's begin. The story is actually pretty simple. I'm kinda surprised there's even a story to this at all. This takes place before Ocarina of Time, so Ganondorf was never able to take the Triforce and control Hyrule. Instead, Gruntilda came and messed around with Ocarina's coding to create this game. She entered the Sacred Realm, took the Triforce, and sealed herself. Link got absolutely deleted, and it's up to you to beat this as Banjo. I like the story, although I'm not sure where to put this in the timeline. So the game begins with Banjo and Kazooie heading out of Link's house and finds Bottles just hanging around outside waiting for you. He starts by asking whether I need some help with Banjo's moveset. I chose no because I've already played the original, so I could cut the bullshit and just get to it. And so I went ahead and collected some notes, jiggies, and motherfucking genjos just before I entered the Lost Woods. From there, I explored for a bit, only to return to Kokiri Forest and realized that the path to the next area is blocked. So I went back to Lost Woods and found nothing that could help me progress forward. I spent like 20 minutes just wandering around like an asshole until I looked up a walkthrough. It turns out there's this secret room inside this fucking water pit, so thanks, Bottles. Why did you not tell me about this, Bottles? Well, apparently he does tell you, if you follow the fucking tutorial. Anyway, you go inside the room and you learn a new move, that lets you shoot eggs from both ends, and I do mean both ends. After that, you can break that spider web and enter the Great Deku Tree. It's much smaller compared to Ocarina, with the bottom part of the dungeon completely gone. There's a secret room though, just outside the tree after climbing some vines that I barely saw at first. It's pretty cool how much is in this room, and originally this was a fan club for an Android game called Jack Jewels, which is a real thing by the way. There's nothing else to say about this place, so let's move on. So you head out into Hyrule Field, just like in Ocarina, except this time, you have to actually unlock Hyrule Castle with the help of some Jiggies. There's no fucking owl this time, giving you his entire life story, so that's nice. And you get something even better with the occasional dialogue between the main characters and Grunty, along with others. It's pretty cute, and it usually involves breaking the fourth wall. There aren't that many secrets in Hyrule Field like in Ocarina, so don't expect to be here for too long anyway. Also, at this point in Ocarina, you would have been able to explore Gerudo Valley, Lake Hylia, Lon Ranch, and Kokiri Village, but they're locked right now, and even subsections are blocked by note doors which require a certain amount of notes. The castle town looks pretty good, and it's pretty nice to see it in full 3D instead of the disgusting pre-rendered shit. You get to actually go in the throne room, and there's a whole new area with the castle. These don't exist in the original, so they really stand out in this hack. After messing around for a bit, we get to progress towards Kokiri Village, and this is the point where I should probably bring up Gruntilda. Unlike in Banjo Kazooie, she doesn't give you facts about Gruntilda. Instead, you receive 3 hints about any possible secrets in the world you're in. It could lead to more Jiggies, motherfucking Jinjos, and story progression. Most of the hints are pretty useful, but there were a couple that were questioning. So you learn the Wonder Wing in Hyrule Castle, and Bottles tells you that it's mostly useful for vines, ghosts, and bees. I took note of that, and then later on, in Gerudo Valley, Gruntilda tells you again that it's useful on bees, which I find kinda strange considering you constantly encounter bees in the game. So at this point, you should have been to 3 worlds, each with 100 notes. This door, which leads to the 4th world, Death Mountain, needs a total of 260 notes. The vanilla game required 180 notes to get to the 4th world, so I'm not sure why this hack increased the necessary amount. Both games have the same total number of notes, so you have to be really careful about how many you have throughout the entire game. Anyway, you unlock the ability to fly now, which opens up a lot more space to explore. And you can also now use these day and night switches in Hyrule Field. It just loads up a new hub to represent the day and night, which lets you enter Lon Ranch now. It's a pretty cool looking fair, or carnival, or fucking fiesta, whatever you want to call it. And there are a couple Jiggies to collect, like this one, which was an absolute bitch to get. I finally got it after many attempts. So now I move on to Death Mountain. What the fuck? Death Mountain has you going to the Dongo's Cavern, Goron City, and this new fortress area that's pretty cool. Or should I say, hot? I didn't get to see the Metroid Easter egg on my first playthrough. But trust me when I say that if I did, I would have shit my fucking pants.
What?
You get to climb a little bit of Death Mountain, but not all of it, sadly. But let's talk about the platforming here. Now, I don't think I'm that bad at video games, at least I hope I'm not that bad, but it can get really hard trying to jump across these platforms. Luckily, the lava doesn't kill you instantly anymore. After that, we head out to Zora's domain. Shit. We then head out into Zora's domain and see that the shop got replaced with a snowy slide room, which kinda gives me Mario 64 vibes, honestly. Donkey Kong can be found in this minigame area that you can play in if you have enough eggs. But I think the coolest Easter egg is inside Jabu Jabu's belly. I mean, look at all this stuff, man. It does brutally kill the performance, but that's fine. There's even a Mario Kart level, Banjo Kart level with a Jiggy piece. These birds though can kiss the brownest part of my ass. And I'm not even kidding. They somehow manage to always hit me. I think it's time to talk about transformations now. They're just simple reskins of the original. For example, you fly as a broom now instead of a bee, a Dodongo replaces the crocodile, a bomb bag replaces the pumpkin, and instead of a walrus, you're a slushy. I feel a little bit mixed about them. I already felt that the transformations just padded the game, since you can only transform as a specific thing at this specific spot with a specific amount of this specific thing. You have to sometimes open up areas as Banjo and then go all the way back to Mumbo just to transform and slowly go back again to the same area just to collect something. It doesn't help that these things are slower than shit. Again, it's not Mark's fault or anything. The game was made this way. Maybe having less farther spots would help, or having more of these pot things in each world so I can easily switch back to Banjo. Those are just my ideas though. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, and I'm sorry if it sounds like that. Getting to the forest temple is the same as in Ocarina, except more spooky, with ghosts. It's filled with a bunch of secrets that were easy to solve at times, but were mostly so confusing and vague that I actually just solved them by either brute force or lucky guesses. When I got to this room, I just gave up and I used the guide because I had no idea that I had to go through these doors in a specific order. I thought it was a glitch or something. Besides that though, I had a good time with the level. There's some cool references to Zelda 1 and A Link to the Past that I enjoyed. And you go down here to fight waves of enemies throughout each level, which I totally did by the way and did not cheese it by skipping them. It all leads up to a boss battle with Phantom Ganon, Boss Boom Box. Yeah. Overall though, this was my least favorite world to be honest, but I still enjoyed a good chunk of it, which says a lot about how well this hack is made. Here's a fun fact. Boggy's room is actually a recreation of Mark's bedroom from 2015. The song you hear was made by the composer, aka James, as a surprise birthday present in 2019. Multiple composers actually worked on this game, which are mostly just remixes of different Zelda and Nintendo games, but still pretty cool nonetheless. You can download the entire soundtrack for free, which I will link in the description. World 7 is comprised of Lake Hylia, the fishing pod, with no fishing by the way, a new floating island section, and the water temple! Ah! Oh, it's not too bad. It's not as big or confusing as the original, and since Banjo can swim normally, that means there's no need to change the water levels or put on iron boots just to move around like a fucking idiot. Anyway, there's nothing else worth mentioning, I guess, besides the Nipper boss fight. Nipper shows up looking like something I'd see in my toilet after eating Golden Corral for an hour. Gerudo Valley is up next, and it was probably the most difficult world out of all of them. The first area is just a lot of walking and entering just to get through the first half. The second part consists of the Desert Colossus and the Spirit Temple. Also, I hope you stocked up on gold feathers, because you're gonna need them, or else there'll be consequences. Again, I kinda wish the broom was a bit faster, but other than that though, I think the level was fine. I would definitely play this again. What the fuck? It is now time to face off against Grunty, and in order to do that, we need to reach her castle. We just have to head back to the Temple of Time and unlock it with 15 Jiggies. We finally arrive outside the castle, and there's a few things we can do, including the option to double your health, like in Ocarina of Time. It's an option, but to be honest, you're gonna need this if you even want a chance at fighting Grunty at the end. Anyway, let's head into the actual castle. There are a bunch of different rooms here, including the bathroom with a toilet, which leads to a snowy area that's actually Peach's castle from Mario 64? What? I didn't notice it until after, so I just thought I should let you all know. Anyway, this is where we get our final transformation, which again is a fucking slushy, but at least this is the last time I'll ever have to slowly walk somewhere again. This is it, Luigi, the final battle. And it's the same exact fight as in Banjo Kazooie. That's fine though, editing stuff like boss battles probably isn't possible yet. I somehow managed to sometimes actually go into first person mode because of the shitty button layout. You can't afford to waste any golden feathers because of Grunty's stupid homing spell, which forces you to stop whatever you're doing and go invincible. You have to keep repositioning yourself every 10 seconds because of the constant dodging. I got so tired of it that I just cheesed it by shooting point blank and dancing around the statue like a fucking idiot. It worked though, and with that, Grunty gets whooped again by the Jinjos, the motherfucking Jinjos. And we end off with this nice little credit sequence and awarded with the Triforce. Now that's something you couldn't do in Ocarina. Trust me, a lot of people have tried. I really enjoyed this ROM hack. You can tell that a lot of thought was put into all the worlds in order to blend them with the nice mix of Banjo and Zelda. In my opinion though, I think some of the worlds can take a bit too long to complete because of how big they are and how much backtracking you do. They can also get a bit tricky on finding some things, right to the point where I actually had to look up a guide online. That's something I don't really like to do for games. Those are really the only true negatives I can think of. There are a lot of cool Easter eggs and secrets I didn't show in this video, so I highly recommend everyone who are fans of Zelda to check it out. I mean, who knows? It might make you a Banjo fan and try out the whole series. And by series, I mean just 2 games.